I will lay down a few ground rules which will help you navigate this session. Firstly, kindly ensure that your microphone and video remains turned off during the session. Please do not turn on your videos. It may destabilize the connectivity. So that's one request to all of you. The session will be divided into three parts. First, I'm going to introduce the topic. Then we will have a group coaching discussion wherein all of you will have an opportunity. Like we will pick students, like maybe 2 or 3. They can directly ask questions to our guest speaker. And then the last 10 minutes will be reserved for the questions, wherein all of you can just raise your hand and we can take questions one by one. Lastly, I would like to inform you that this session will be recorded and you can access this webinar on our YouTube channel. Now, for all of those who are joining in for the first time, LawSikho is an online legal education company. Without putting emphasis on legal terminology, we provide practical training which can help professions to gain legal knowledge. So moving on with the session in hand, today we have a mental health expert with us, Dr. Priyanka Tibrewala. And our today's topic is about mental health at workplaces. Like we all know that the post-COVID landscape will be a fertile ground for an increased chronic stress, anxiety, depression, because we're seeing a lot of mass unemployment, right? The situation is going to be very, very different. So today we're going to talk about different aspects of it. We're also going to talk about that whether companies should have a mental health policy, if there should be a mental health policy, what all can be included at that. So without further ado, I would like to start with the session. I would first like to introduce the speaker. Dr. Priyanka Tibrewala is an MBBS, a 6 seconds international certified coach, assessor, and a network leader. Today, she will be talking about common mental health issues at the workplace and how employees can respond to them. Now, she will also discuss mental well-being strategies and perspectives that can be used in the post-COVID landscape. So, Priyanka, handing over to you now.
Thank you, Vanita, for such a beautiful introduction. And thank you for everybody for joining me today on this call. Thanks a lot to LawSikho for, I think, reaching out and taking this initiative to create awareness about mental health and why it's so important, especially in the trying times that we're living in right now. So I think over to you, Vanita.
All right, I'll shoot up my first question. So we all are worried about this whole COVID-19 episode, that it has affected everyone's life personally. Now, can we say for sure that India is, in times to come, is prepared for it? Or how do you think we should address the mental health issues concerned around it? Because how we see social distancing, it has led people to stay in a very lonely environment.
So I think it's a very valid point. First of all, mental health is on the rise in India, and it's not only because of COVID. It has been on the rise for the past couple of years. If we look at statistics and we look at the numbers, India is one of the top 3 countries in the world in terms of numbers of people who are saying that, yes, I do have a mental health issue. Even if when it's in the top 3, about half of those numbers are from the younger generation. So I think that's a sign in itself, which is telling us that we need to do something about it. Definitely with COVID and with all of the distress and unemployment, depression, loneliness, I mean, it's kind of brought out a lot of things around everyone, the younger, the elder, with family, without family, everyone is in a different kind of state of mind. So I think right now it's the time to address this and to make sure that we are prepared to deal with this. So are we prepared for ourselves? And is that preparedness enough to support somebody else in this time? Suppose we do have somebody who has a mental health issue. We've just recently heard the case of Sushant Singh Rajput. Who could ever imagine that, somebody who's in the limelight and everything would commit a suicide, but obviously things weren't right in terms of his mental health. So it's something that we really need to pay attention to. And I want to throw out a question to everybody. That, as we're growing up, we always know how to deal with our successes and, how to take pride in the successes. But have we learned how to handle failures also?
That's right, Priyanka. So I think considering how we've become very fast paced in life now, everybody wants to be an overachiever, everybody wants to do a lot of things in life. The moment it comes to that, okay, I can't complete this task, or I cannot probably do this thing, it kind of reflects on probably that they're weak. So I think that's the whole narrative around it needs to change, especially also talking of workplaces, because most of the time we are spending at workplace. Everybody doesn't have that same thing that they can compete. So how do you think companies can deal with such situations?
So the first thing for a company is, I think, recruit the right people in the right position. Because what's happening is that a lot of times, proper assessments are not being done in terms of not only the IQ, but the EQ of an individual, the emotional quotient, the strengths and the weaknesses of an individual, and where would they be the best fit. Because at 6 seconds we work with a lot of organizations and corporates, and what we realize is that in different teams, the team dynamics probably don't work out because of the differences in the temperaments of the individual and the strengths of the individual. So I think the first thing is, when you are hiring a candidate, are you making them, are you using their strengths, are you leveraging their strengths to the right place in your company? So I think the first thing is for the individual or for the person who's applying to know what is really my strength. Just because I've studied finance doesn't mean that finance is my strength. Or maybe in finance, what is it really that I'm good at? Even if I've done finance, suppose I'm a people's person. So can I find that niche for myself? And do the values of the company align with my personal values? Because this is also a huge conflict for a lot of young people who are working, is where they don't find their value set and the system being valued at the organization, which is a constant, kind of an inner trigger for them. And ultimately, either it leads to a burnout or it leads to, change of job or something like that. So I think that's the first thing. The second thing would be periodic assessment of the teams. And as times are progressing, we're going to be shifting more and more to collaborative work and teamwork, because the challenges are getting bigger and more complex. So we're going to need more brains working together, more creative potential working together. But with collaboration comes its own set of challenges. So do we have that culture of empathy in our organization? Do we have that culture of openness in the organization? Because for anyone to grow, we need to create that openness and that space for learning, that space for trust, which I feel is a very, very important aspect for any person in a leadership role to do, and to make their subordinates feel comfortable yet responsible.
Right. And what do you think, Priyanka? How, as colleagues or how, as individuals, we can help each other to cope with mental illness?
So as colleagues, you have a very, very important role. One, because a lot of times the person suffering is not even aware of the fact that they're suffering. It's become a lifestyle for them. So, if kind of bringing in that awareness in a subtle way, the first thing. The second thing is, suppose you are noticing that somebody is stressed out and, kind of on the verge of burning out. A lot of companies in the US have now established a policy of having mindfulness practices, of doing mindful breaks and, social breaks at work, wherein you are interacting with your colleague, but not for work purpose. So, in your breaks, if you have a coffee break, you're actually asking them about their lives, to share, you share your lives together. So you feel you're connected, because loneliness is at the root of most of the mental health illnesses. Somewhere, even if you have a really loving family, for some people that's not enough. They need a deeper kind of a connection, or maybe a connection with the purpose that you're working towards. So can you share your life with the other person? That really contributes to their feeling of, one, I'm not alone, and two, that there's somebody who's there for me. Somebody has my back. So as colleagues, if you can become that support system for the other colleague, I think it'll make a huge difference.
Right. So I think we can open the floor for the group discussion, group mentoring. So probably we can pick 2 to 3 people from the pool and we can discuss their issues. So how would you like to pick, Priyanka? Uh,
So I think I'm open. I just want to make sure that everyone here feels very, very comfortable, because, as a coach, it's my job to make sure that you feel safe, even though we are in a group. But the benefit of being in a group is getting a lot of insights and from your peers and learning from your peers. But the only thing that I want to make sure that you feel is very comfortable. So whatever topic you bring up, make sure that you're okay talking about it in front of a group. And the process will be taking you through is asking you some questions to help you reflect upon, where do you feel stuck? What do you need right now? And how can you really get that? What can you do as an individual right now for tomorrow to be a better day and the next day to be a better day? Because there's always possibility, but sometimes we can't see it. So we need somebody to partner with us and just help us see it in a different way. So, whoever would like to come up and open and discuss their issues, we can do like 10 minutes each,
Yeah.
and the group can observe, and then we can share our insights as a group as to how can this relate to my life, even though I'm hearing it for somebody else's life, but we're all related.
Right. You can just raise your hand, anybody who's interested, and then I will unmute you. All right. So we have Garima here. I am going to unmute her.
So Garima, can you just turn on your video so we can all see you?
I'm not comfortable turning on the video, but
Oh,
yeah, I can.
no problem, Garima, no problem.
Yeah. So hi,
So
I, yeah.
hi, so nice of you to be here today with me and all of us. And great that you've come up and you're volunteering. I just want to make sure that you feel very, very comfortable. This is a safe space for learning for all of us. And in this process, not only me and you would be learning, but I think everyone else would relate whatever dilemma that you're in or challenge you're facing to their own life and see what they can take back. Right?
Okay. Yeah.
Great. So,
Okay.
so tell me what's going on right now. How is life?
Okay. So currently, the situation I am in, one is that I would like to specify that I'm already suffering from depression and I'm taking medicines for the same. I am having Rexipra as my medicine currently. Like my dosage is 20 mg every day. So the challenges I'm facing is, one is I'm unable to cope up with work, like anything or everything which happens in the organization. I just feel that people are trying to target me. At times I know I'm overthinking, and that's not the case, but because my mental state is such that so it becomes more like a question of survival. That it's more like a question of self worth also, that whether I'm worth it or not, will I be able to handle so much of pressure? So for me, my problem is more to do with getting validation from authority figures in life and my self worth. Like these are the two areas I am working on currently and juggling with as well.
So thank you so much, Juan, for opening up and sharing, such a deep aspect of your life. So, Garima, you mentioned a couple of things. You mentioned self-worth, you mentioned validation, you mentioned feeling that you are the target at work sometimes, which makes you go into survival mode. So where do you really feel the most stuck? I mean, if tomorrow were to be a new day for you, what would have to change?
For now, I think the only thing I would want to change if tomorrow is a new day is my job. One.
Mhm.
and and start my life fresh, not do the mistakes I did in my current job, not trust people the way I trusted them in my current job. If it's a new day and a new life, this is what I want it to be.
And where are you stuck right now, which is not allowing you to create this?
Feeling of being bit, one is that I feel that I've been betrayed, that and I am very very much emotionally attached with my organization, with the kind of work we do. I really love that. I feel for the work we do, and that's why I do it. I've been doing that for almost 3.5 years now. So one is that is not letting me move on, because of whatever experiences I have. At times I feel that I'm overthinking, overdoing it, but at the same time I don't want that to affect my decision of changing my job, because I feel that if validation is my issue, then that is going to occur anywhere I go. Like if I want the authorities to validate it, it is not this job, it is going to be in every job I take up. And so that's where majorly I'm stuck, because in a way my head says that one solution is to move on and change your job. The second thing which my mind tells me is that even if you do that, and it's a corporate world, similar situations as work politics, people trying to move ahead of you, all this happens everywhere. It's not only like it happens in my company, it happens in all the companies. So what if it happens somewhere else? Like, how will I cope up with it? And the other area where I'm majorly stuck is that, like, how do I put it? It is more to do with, here, because I have a relationship with the co-founders of the company, and they understand my state of mind. They've been extremely helpful with it. They've given me the space to, work less, maybe take leaves, rest. They don't question me a lot. But if I change my job, and that is what one of the solutions I feel is, but no one is going to be as accommodating as currently my company co-founders are. They are extremely accommodating on this, but I am not. So that are the points where I'm majorly stuck at.
So, Garima, considering that we have a short time because we are on this call, so if we were to work on one aspect and really find, a new possibility for you, what would you want to work on?
Validation, like trying to seek validation from authority figures in life.
Okay. So when you think of validation, what does that mean for you?
Validation means where the authority figures, like if it is my house, my mother, or if it is my job, my boss, understand the work I'm doing, they acknowledge it,
Mhm.
they give me, like, they appreciate it. Basically, it should not go unnoticed.
Okay. And what is the need underlying that? What are you looking for?
Some sort of appreciation, maybe, or I think it again connects to self-worth here, that if I am not appreciated or my work goes unnoticed, then I feel that I am not worthy enough.
And what would you need to feel that you're worthy enough yourself?
For myself, that's something which I've been thinking, like, I think I've been undergoing therapy for the last 3 months. I started in the month of March, and that's what I'm working on currently. But that answers I still do not have, where how do I increase my self-worth, where how do I give my, like, I know I've done amazing work, but me myself telling me that, Garima, you've done a good job and you should be really happy about it, it does help that time. But then it again leads me ki, could you've appreciated yourself, but then no one else is realizing the work you are doing. No one's giving you appreciating you for that work, or no one's giving you credit for the work you have done. And that is where it again, it's like a vicious circle.
So do you think it's really self-worth or something else related to giving credit?
I think it's, for me, it's more to with self worth, because when, like, people appreciate the work I am doing, or my family appreciates the work I've done, like, or the responsibilities I've taken up since my childhood, I feel that that makes me feel proud as a person. That is where I get my self worth from.
And if I ask you to imagine a Garima who feels that, she's enough in herself, how does that sound to you? And how does that feel?
That sounds really amazing to me. I think if I'm able to do that, that would solve all my problems in life.
So let's do that right now. Close your eyes
Okay.
and imagine Garima and imagine looking at her and she feels that she's enough. She believes in her worth, her capability. What does she look like? What is she doing?
She's basically happy in her own world. She is doing her job. She's loving it, and she then, like, She's very happy in her work. She's performing really well, talking to a lot of people, figuring out things for people,
Mhm.
and happy at home, sitting with my parents and talking to them. That's all I can think of.
So you've mentioned the word happy a couple of times. Seems like happy is a very significant word for you.
Yeah, because I currently feel that I'm very unhappy, and like momentarily I do get happiness. Like for example, yesterday was my sister's birthday, so I had my family over, like my extended family. So I was very happy with them. But then the moment they all left, it was again like the same thought process of काम करना है and all of that. So that just makes me a little upset or unhappy at times.
So now can I ask you, how would you feel happy at these thoughts of काम करना है? If I ask you to join these two together.
Uh, it would make me feel happy if I am getting enough acknowledgement for the work I'm doing, if I am appreciated for the work I am doing, and I have enough recognition and power in my organization.
So you've just mentioned some powerful words, and you've told me that what motivates you is appreciation, acknowledgement, recognition, and power, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And what drives you to even get that from within? What is your internal driver?
My hard work, my internally, I like my hard work and my uh like the way I work, the way I put in so much of time, effort. I take my work as if I the company for me is like my company. I work as if it is my work, my company. That whatever we are getting out of it, whatever profits we are making out of it are like my profits. So that is what is my driving factor.
So you're owning it, right?
Yeah.
If I hear you correctly. So
Yes,
you're
correct.
owning whatever work you're doing. And that's a huge asset that you have along with a driver, which is driving you from the inside.
Absolutely.
So now just pause here for a minute. Recognize this asset within you. Recognize the fact that you have this asset, which not many people have, that you have the ability to keep going because you are owning your work as if it's your own.
Mm. Yes.
So, how does that feel now?
That feels amazing. But then in the end of the day, it just makes me feel like it gives me a feeling that even if I'm owning it and I'm doing like giving more than 100% from myself, what am I getting in return except for a good salary? Obviously, I get that. But apart from that, what do I get in return? Because what I'm looking for is not only money in life, it is more to do with recognition, appreciation, power, all of that.
So, Garima, we can definitely spend, a longer conversation one-on-one to really get to the depth of the conversation, because I
Okay.
feel that 10 minutes won't be enough to really do justice. But I wanted to give you this experience to help you realize that you have all the answers within you. Your search for happiness, this recognition of the fact that you don't only need the salary, you're looking for something more. So that will help you define, one, the correct workplace, two, what kind of a job profile do you want to hold, because you have this need for something. So
Okay.
once you recognize that need, it's easy for you to position yourself in a better way to fulfill that need.
Okay. Yeah. Got it. Yes.
And I want to definitely leave you with the thought of, you've visualized this future Garima. You visualized this Garima who feels that she is enough. And now you know yourself. So see the
Mhm.
gap. And, tonight while you're sleeping, or just kind of think about what is one thing I can do to move towards that future self,
Okay.
right?
Yeah. Right. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much for, opening up in front of all of us. I know it takes a lot of courage to do that. And I really, really appreciate. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Garima. It was really nice. Like when she was explaining different things, like we could also relate. Like those are similar issues that sometimes even I would feel, or any one of us might feel. So it was a wonderful thing, Priyanka. Moving on, next we have Raksha with us. So I'm gonna unmute her.
Sure. Raksha, can you please turn on your video if you're comfortable? Otherwise, just let me know.
Good evening, ma'am.
Hi, Raksha. Nice to meet you.
Hi, ma'am. Good evening to one and all of you. Actually, ma'am, my question is that I'm a young student, law student.
Mhm.
So, ma'am, uh, I just want to take a two life, like a law student and a personal human being, as we are a social animal. So, ma'am, being a law student, if I give my early life example, like before 1 year, so I was very kind of person that who thinking about me, what around the people with whom I stay, what they think about me, why they don't appreciate me much, or sometimes a lot of issues that you can consider ki youngsters do face in their life. So, ma'am, with passage of time, I overcome. I thought that everything is just within me. If I'm doing something, I don't need validation. It's by others. The only one can validate me. It's myself. So I just took my every decision and I just approached some right people with whom I feel comfortable, and with them I overcome with this. Now still one question that, ma'am, being a law student, it's lot of studies burden upon us, or whether we are in corporate or some working profession, it's sometimes it's really hard to handle. I can say when you realize the self worth, sometimes it's very hard to deal with people. Like you just busy in your studies and all, but sometimes it's really hard to connect with society because you find worthless. You know what is exactly good for you. You're not. It, I can say that um, it's not your job that what they are thinking to you about you. So, ma'am, I just want to ask the one question that what is the EQ, like how we can handle, because most of the time, whether it's organization, family, or my friend's family, I do sometimes get emotionally connect. So but we can't feel every time emotionally with everything thing
So,
according.
great. I think it's a very common issue, especially when you are in this kind of a profession. I mean, even I was a medical student, and I understand the pressures that you are enduring, and the long hours that you're working. So, first of all, emotional intelligence is not really being emotional. Emotional intelligence is actually understanding yourself, first of all, and secondly, understanding the other person and where they are coming from. So that does not mean at all that you really have to be very emotional. You have to show your emotions, nothing like that. It's about being aware, and whatever you are doing it with a proper intention. So the first thing I want to ask you, Raksha, is, it's what I hear is that, you're kind of craving relationship somewhere, but at the same time, you don't want them to validate yourself because you feel that, you believe that you have that self-worth, but somewhere you're still want to have these relationships. So what's the purpose behind that?
Actually, ma'am, I think I thought I had a lot of research about it that when you don't stay with your family kind of father and mother. So from since my childhood, I live with my guardian. So, ma'am, there is a I can say the generation gap when you do stay with your grandparents and you. So from very childhood, I think uh, you feel somewhere alone but lonely. So I think that's the problem with me. I think so. Most of the time, at some point of time, I thought I have no one. Sometimes, and automatically, but nowadays, what happened that I really don't care about people because of my studies, and whenever or you can understand why studying hours and hours, you are not able to talk to anyone. You just need break. Or sometimes it's they do judge you. People do judge you that you don't care, especially when you stay in joint family. It's a very
So can I ask you a question?
yes, ma'am.
For you to really care for somebody, to authentically care for somebody, how much time would you really need?
Sorry, ma'am. Can you come again?
Okay, so let me take you. Do you remember the last time you felt that somebody really understood you and cared for you? Any time in your life that you can recall.
Yes, ma'am, my mentor.
Okay, so let's just pause there. Just visualize your mentor. Okay, and visualize what they made you feel, what their presence was like, what they said to you, right?
Yes,
And now imagine that that mentor was with you for only 10 to 15 minutes, but they brought that same energy with them, the same kind of care, the same kind of words, and the feeling that I'm with you. Would you think that you have been cared for in those 10 minutes?
not getting the last sentence, ma'am. Sorry.
I said, suppose that mentor was only available to you for 10 to 15 minutes.
Yes.
Would you feel that the mentor cares for you, is connected with you?
No, ma'am,
Okay.
because it's their job.
No, no. What I'm asking is, you said the mentor is the person who you feel really cares for you,
Yeah,
right?
exactly, ma'am. No care. No. Exactly, I got it, ma'am.
So,
Ma'am, just for that some period of that time, they cares for me. But right now, I'm not touch with them.
okay. So think of a person in your life who you still know cares for you, even if they're not physically present. Can you think of any one person?
Ma'am, I can't say that they really don't care about me. Maybe some part of them still care for me. It's not just I recognizing it.
So, okay, so you don't have to tell us who it is or who it's not. What I want you to bring your attention to is that when we talk about empathy, it means that if and this is for the whole group, if we can think about somebody in our life that when we sat with them for even 10 minutes or 15 minutes, we felt that connection. We felt that sense of this person is really with me right now. I can feel some warmth with that person. Those memories stay with us. Even after years, if somebody asks me, I can exactly recall that moment that I was with that person, even if I forget the conversation. That means that they've created a special place for themselves in my heart, right? So the advice that I would give to you as somebody who has a little less time and definitely under a pressure of time to perform is, can you spare 10 to 15 minutes, maybe a couple of times a week, whoever you're living with, and just offer them this presence and this warmth and see the difference it will make in your relationships.
Okay,
Does
ma'am.
that resonate, Raksha?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Now, nowadays, I'm not having any mental issues, but sometimes we are human beings, so we do notice some things that. But I can say to everyone, as per my knowledge, that whenever we have some any problem, we just sit peacefully and just find the solution. That what can we really do? If we can't really do, recognize, find solution, and let it be. That's I
Great.
think we can do.
Thank you. Thank you. And on this note, I would like to add to the group that at 6 seconds, we have a 4-point model. So basically, what we believe is that for any individual to feel successful and to feel satisfied, when you look back on your life, there are 4 quadrants. One is your effectiveness. So that's basically your productivity and your ability to influence. Then is your relationships. Then the third is your well being. So, your mental health and physical health. And fourth is the quality of life. So, as an individual, we must ensure that we are making progress in all 4 areas of our life. Because a lot of times what happens is we focus so much on our effectiveness that we kind of leave behind all of these other things. And that's where the imbalance strikes. That's where we start to feel, either relationships are not prospering, or in terms of well being, we don't feel that energy, we feel too stressed out. That happens when this imbalance occurs. We have to remember to keep these in balance, to have place for all of these in our life. Whether we have a little less time, but even in that little time that we have, can we give ourselves the care and others the care? So if we give ourselves the care, we are taking care of our well-being. If we give others the care, we are, fostering those relationships that we'll value.
Yes, thank you so much, ma'am, for replying, for your humble response.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Priyanka. Next, I think we'll take up Samanika's question. I will just unmute her.
Sure.
Hi Priyanka, thank you so much
Hi.
firstly for coming on our platform. I'm also a member of LawSikho. So since I'm the recruitment head here, what I've realized is like this is my understanding, especially that Bollywood in a great manner promotes codependency is something which I feel, and that is something which influences a lot of law students, especially the student crowd, in a very wrong manner. Now these students, like since Bollywood promotes codependency in such a manner that a student, when he wants to do something on his own, especially here because we have a lot of law students, and especially the first generation lawyers who want to enter into litigation, they are quite scared and skeptical of entering into that field because again they look for that dependency, they look for that mentor, somebody senior to them who can like hold their hand and take them through. Okay, so can you just like discuss in brief about this concept firstly? Secondly, I've seen as professionals also a lot of people still don't know about like the inner child issues and do require a lot of inner child healing, but since mental health is a concept which is not commonly discussed, most of them don't even know that they have something like that which needs to be worked upon. Like I worked in a law firm also, I've seen my other colleagues working in law firms. So we have like most of them have come up and complained about law firm partners who had severe temperament issues or who treated their juniors like punching bags and all. Especially, I did one webinar last month on litigation, and I saw a lot of students were writing the same question again and again, that what if your senior treats you like a punching bag? Okay, so I personally feel that this comes a lot from the inner child healing, which that senior didn't do at the right point of time. So, can you also discuss about it? Because I feel that both of them are related to the mental health issues.
Definitely. Um, as a senior in an organization or a boss of an organization, I think you have at least a 10 to 100-fold responsibility for taking care of your own mental health and your own inner issues that you're struggling with as an individual. Because what happens is if you don't do that, you percolate that down throughout the rest of your organization. If we look at the world's best organizations and we look at their leaders, they spend at least 20% of their time on personal growth and personal development, which is very, very important for them in order to generate that culture of compassion within the rest of their organization. So, from an employer or boss's point of view, I would totally agree that it's very important for that person to spend a significant amount of time on dealing with their own issues, untangling them, finding the solutions that they need in order to be more balanced and more clear. For the junior's perspective, the first thing you mentioned is about fear of starting on their own. So I think as a junior one, fear is a very normal feeling. Fear is telling us that we don't want to lose something. So if we look at it from, somebody who wants to take up a litigation but is scared, they don't want to lose something. So what is it they don't want to lose? Either they don't want to lose their name, they feel that, if I don't do well, so my reputation is at stake. There's something they don't want to lose. So if the first thing we can do, suppose I was in that position, the first thing I would do is accept the fact that yes, there is an element of fear. And it's going to be there, it's very normal. But at the same time, I always have a choice as to who do I want to be right now in this situation. And that choice gives me the ability to bring in other emotions which would be useful right now. So even though I have a slight fear, can I bring in the emotion of courage right now? And as humans, we actually have the ability to do that. Once we acknowledge and accept and tell ourselves that, yes, I am a little afraid because I have this need, but because my purpose is much bigger than the fear, I'm ready to take that step to choose to be courageous and take it. So I think it all revolves around the purpose. Simon Sinek has a beautiful concept. I'm sure you guys must be aware of the why, the how, and the what. So it all starts with the why. So anything we are doing, whether it's a small project, whether it's running a huge company, why are we doing it? If the purpose is bigger than your fear, then it's easy for you to, navigate those emotions, to overcome the fear and really take that jump ahead because you have some reason to do it. So I think if I answered your question correctly, but you know, realizing and kind of reflecting upon why am I doing what I'm doing? What is it really giving me? What's driving me? Is it important enough for me that when I look back at this memory, it'll be a significant part of my history? Who I chose to be. Right now in COVID, we're talking a lot about people being scared and being uncertain and anxious and all of that. And at the same time, we see another group of people who are very, very resilient, who are, they know they also have that fear, right? But they are able to bring in that resilience because their purpose is much higher than the fear. So Samanika, was I able to, address the query or anything else left?
I think she has one more part. She's saying that if you can address more about codependency.
Okay. So can you just elaborate on that so I'll know exactly what you're looking for?
So Manika, I'm going to unmute you so that you can
Yeah, I'm
ask
so
more.
sorry. I muted myself by mistake.
No
So the codependency part where somebody is looking for dependency on the other person. Now, why I say so is because we see a lot of students in their early youth or in teenage life when they enter into relationships. Now, when they try to come out of it or there's a breakup, now they don't understand how to come out of it, and that clearly reflects in their like selection of job or in their confidence level. Like they look for that dependency. So I being the recruitment head do come across most of such students who say like we had to undergo depression because immediately after our breakup and it wasn't good. Like in the first part you did speak about self love and self acceptance, and I personally do feel that yes, that is also connected to it. But yeah, why are people looking for so much of dependency on somebody else, and why are they not able to see themselves to be complete in their own self?
So I think it brings me back to the first thing I mentioned is, are we ready to handle failures? Are we equipped to do that? Have we learned to handle failures? And most of us in the current generation or the generations younger to us have not been trained to handle failures. For them it's either a 90 or a 0, and that's why we see mental health cases rising in India. So now the question is, how do we train ourselves to handle failure? Right? Would anyone want to share any insights on that before we move ahead? How can we train ourselves to handle failure in a way that it stimulates growth for us? This morning I was in a seminar and our facilitator told me a beautiful quote. I just have it somewhere. She said, never waste a disaster. She said, never waste a disaster. So in the current times, the pandemic that we are suffering from as a globe, her perspective was, never look at it as a loss, find the opportunity within it. So I think it's about perspective. When I'm telling you, how can we equip ourselves to handle failure? There are two parts. One is developing resilience, and second is modifying our perspective. So when I'm talking about developing resilience, it means resilience comes from the fact that we know we have somebody to fall back on no matter what. If we have that inner conviction that there is somebody behind us, it really gives us that courage to take the leap ahead. So think about all of the people in your life, your close friends, your mentors, your bosses, whoever it is. Who is it that has your back? And if you haven't built that kind of a relationship, I would strongly advise you to now do that. Because that relationship is what is going to give you that energy to bounce back any time that you fail. The second thing is the perspective that you take looking at a situation. You'll be surprised to know that the number of pessimists in the world are rising and the number of optimists are reducing. So when I say perspective, it means that do you see a possibility even in failure? Can you see different ways of looking at the situation? Can you find different options? A very simple exercise we do in EQ for anything and everything is, when we've identified the situation, suppose I am, a student and I'm very, very dependent, I'm afraid of taking the next step. right? Or I've not been able to come out of a, relationship breakup. I'll go to an EQ coach and they'll tell me, okay, so what is the problem? So I'll name the problem and then they'll say, okay, what options do you see in front of you? I want you to think of at least 5 to 7 options. What can you do? So, the options can be I can just stay like this. The second one can be I can find a mentor. The third one can be I can take that leap. The fourth one, and so and so. And then we evaluate the options and see which one do I feel the most comfortable yet a bit stretched with. And then we support the person to take that step ahead and see what happens.
Right. Thank you so much.
Yes.
I think Nimisha, one of our attendees, she says that she takes failure as an opportunity. And she kind of thinks that, whenever she's faced something like that, she consider a failure to see what she can get out of it. Has she learned anything new? Is there any benefit that she can see from that failure? And she says that she's a strong believer that there is always a silver lining, and somehow she always managed to see this despite failures. I think it's a very beautiful thought, like the same thing that you pointed out, that disasters can also be beautiful. So it's what you have to develop resilience, like you mentioned, and change our perspective to see that problem. So I think these two are going to be a big takeaways.
Right. So
So
it's a beautiful thing, right?
yeah.
So can we ask everyone to type in the chat box, what is the silver lining for them right now? COVID, right? It's such a dull and bleak situation. What's the silver lining in COVID? So if anyone can write it in the chat box, if you want to talk about it here on screen with us, that would be great. But just think about it for a minute. What do you see as a silver lining for yourself right now? Great. So Vinita, is there anyone else who would like to, discuss some issue on screen here with us?
Yes, I think there's Sagnik. Sagnik, I'm going to unmute you so you can proceed with your questions.
Hello, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, yes. Hello.
Hello, ma'am. I am Shagnik Chaudhary from West Bengal. I am a final year law student.
It's nice to meet you.
Ma'am, I have a issue. Sometimes due to someone wrongdoing attitude of some people around me, I become very short temper and very often start shouting, which should not be done, that I realize later in come mind. So what should I do in that situation, or how should I handle in that situation?
So what is the pattern that you're noticing here about yourself? Pattern in the
Ma'am,
sense like, every time this happens, this is how I react.
Ma'am, in generally, I try to avoid this kind of situation, but sometime I fail to control myself.
So what are you doing right now to control yourself whenever you can,
Ma'am,
remember?
during the lockdown situation, I started doing physical exercise and meditation to control my mind and increase self-control, but don't know how it will work or not.
So can I ask you, when you do get these, flashes of anger or rage, do you feel it in your body somewhere? Can you
Mm,
notice that something
no,
is?
in generally, I feel it in my mind, not I mean body.
Can you recognize that you're about to, really get very angry before you say it?
Ma'am, can you repeat?
So, normally when we start to get angry, there are stages of anger, right? We start to get irritated, then
Yes.
annoyed, then angry, then we get
Hmm.
furious. So, my question is that before you get very angry, are you able to recognize that, I am about to get very angry? I've already started to feel irritated and annoyed.
Yes. I can recognize that it irritating me, and sometimes I cannot avoid the situation and then become very angry.
So what I would recommend is at 6 seconds, the name of our organization is 6 seconds because that is the amount of time it takes for any emotion in our body to start to dissipate. If we talk about, physiology or hormones. So if we can take a 6 second break or a pause, they call it, from the situation. So even if we are standing there, if we cannot avoid the situation, if we cannot move away, if we can just take a 6 second pause and start doing something else with our logical mind, means, count from 10 to 1, count from 1 to 10, count your phone number, do anything that involves your logical mind. So what happens is the intensity of the anger automatically reduces in those 6 seconds, and your logical mind takes over and you're able to respond in a more effective manner. So, you're not reacting and then thinking that I shouldn't have done this. You've given yourself that time to process and then respond.
Okay, ma'am, I will try it.
Yes. So, I mean, definitely it takes its own time because all of these are habits. So, to change a habit, we have to develop more awareness. So, I think meditation will definitely be of great value to you because it will help you develop more self awareness. So, you'll be able to recognize these signs that I'm starting to get angry even faster. But in the moment, we just have to practice taking that pause.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you for your suggestion.
Yes.
I think we are telling about what they are thankful for. So I'm going to read a couple of them. So
Okay, sure.
Pooja says that she is feeling very thankful about things that we took for granted. I think, yeah, this is a huge time that we realized about our privileges. Most of the time, we only talked about unprivileged, but we never really emphasized about the privileges that we enjoy. So even I agree with Pooja that this time has been a turnaround time and had made us realize about all the privileges that we enjoy.
Yes, I
And
would I would really second that. And I appreciate you for pointing that out. Um, because when we're talking about mental health, it's basically talking about gratitude, right? When she says that she's thankful about the privileges we have, we're grateful for that. And gratitude automatically boosts that feeling of positivity within us, no matter what situation we're in.
right. Akshay says that he was stressed with all his college work and exams, but right now he has time to reflect, plan, move ahead. He has time for family, he has time to read all those books he wanted to read, and he has time for self reflection.
Yeah, and that's very, very important. Great going, Akshay. And for everyone else, I'm sure most of us have actually realized that we have this time on hand, which we normally never have in, a city like Bombay, um, to really reflect upon, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? Is there something I want to change? Am I very happy with what I'm doing? Even if I like my job or my workplace, is there maybe a pattern I want to change? Is there a habit that I have now developed that I really am proud of or I like that I want to continue? So this time has given us a lot where we've really just gotten that time to rethink some things, to find out why am I doing what I'm doing. And I think that's the cornerstone of mental health is, if you have a purpose bigger than your fear and bigger than all of these feelings, it keeps you going.
Hmm. I think Apurva has a couple of questions, so I'm just going to unmute. Uh,
Sure. Yes.
Apurva, you can mute it.
Hello.
Hi, Purva.
Hello, ma'am. I just joined 10 minutes back. So what I've heard, I'm sure this has been a very informative session. So I'm a student and sometimes when I'm sitting idle, I get in past instances when I have sort of embarrassed myself, maybe in an interview, or I kind of overthink that I could have responded in a better way and I didn't. And I've wasted my time on things that did not yield good results. And I have limited time as a student to study and build a career. And I'm in the fourth year, I have just one more year to build a career. And I get very pressurized thinking about them, that I've wasted so much time. I could have done better. I have potential, but I'm not using my potential. I'm not uh, doing growth at a rate that I should. When I look at other students around me, my peers, even though I am unique in my own way, but I feel that I'm lacking a lot, and it gives me a, I become very stressed.
So, Apurva, what would you consider as your biggest strength?
I would consider my creativity as my biggest strength. It's my I have a potential to think amid crisis, and but I also procrastinate a lot. I waste a lot of time. Until I have pressure upon myself, I do not act. I can perform very well when I have pressure, when I know that the exam is coming, but I know that I have time, then I do not do anything in that period. Once I am under pressure, I perform. And at that time, I regret that I could have done better
So, can I
when I
ask
had
you
time.
now, how can
Yes.
you use your creativity to help you overcome procrastination as a habit? Think out of the box, use your creativity. Think of what can you do to help yourself, gain the momentum earlier and not procrastinate.
That is what the issue is, I think, because when I have a crisis, my mind is forced to think outside the box because I know I have limited time. And at that time, my mind really starts to start a process and just think of ways in how I can manage right now. But uh, the issue is when I have time, then I know that right now I'm procrastinating. I do not have that initial push. I do not have that. I do not push myself to get up and get something done. I will waste time here and there. I will not study. I will not do things that will help me really. And even if I try to think about it, that how can I improve myself at that time and not procrastinate, I am not able to think what I can do.
So, you just mentioned to me that you are in fourth year, you have only 1 year left to establish your career, and you feel
Yes.
you've made some poor choices in the past. So, when you look at it from this perspective, that you have only 1 year left, how much time do you feel you have? Do you feel you have a lot or limited?
I feel I have very limited time because my peers have been active since third year or
I think I lost your voice. Hello? Hello?
I think, yeah, she's not.
Yeah, I've lost her voice.
I think Priyanka, we have two more questions if you may allow, like if there's time, we
Sure,
take
sure.
two more
Yes.
questions. So there is Pooja. I'm just gonna unmute her and
Hello.
Yes. Hi, Pooja. Nice to
Yeah,
meet you.
hi. Same here, ma'am. I'm sorry I joined a little late. I was having a previous session with LawSikho.
No problem.
But yeah. So actually, I'm a working HR professional in the industry from the last 4 years. So this question is something that has been bothering me from the very first day of my job. Uh, so uh, so I'm a very outgoing kind of a personality, very modern, speaks my mind. So basically, very bubbly and extrovert. So uh, I kind of I don't know as to where should I draw the line in the sense that I kind of have become a little more matured in my second organization because my first I kind of perceived that people used to think that I'm maybe very shallow or too outgoing and people can easily come on to me. But I kind of made a little amends in the second organization. But still, when we talk about building relationships in the organization, you still kind of have that insecurity that if I share too much with somebody, I don't know where that information is finally going to land. And at the end of the day, my personality, I can't completely change it. I'm still very, talkative and I
Yeah.
speak very logically also. I mean, I would say I'm an intelligent talker. So a lot of it has happened in the past that people have maybe come on to me in not the right way. Okay, so kind of making advances, and when that happens at a senior level, it becomes very, very difficult to shrug it off. without offending that person. You understand what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And when you are a woman and kind of perceived to be very outgoing, people kind of feel that you can take a liberty with them. You are maybe the kinds who would give in easily. So it becomes very difficult for me to kind of maintain a stand that despite I have this kind of a personality which is very outgoing and modern, still I need to draw a line where nobody should cross and just get the hint.
So you talked about two things. One is how much to talk and who to talk. So I think that depends on who do you really trust and how do you develop that trust in your relationship. Because what you're talking is very real time. I mean, it's happening to a lot of women. So I think it's about deciphering clearly that who can I really trust in my organization. And secondly, it's about living your values. So suppose you do have this value that you're talking to me about. Is it visible to the other person? I mean, are you authentic to that value in your being? So you don't have to really say it upfront that, I really value, whatever, X, Y, Z. But if you just reflect on your day and your interactions, is at any point of the day, can you see yourself portraying that value? You know how you mentioned that I'm an extrovert, I'm bubbly, but at the same time, I have these certain values which I like to lead my life with. So if you are very authentic to the value, the message is very clear to the person, your colleague or your senior or whoever, as to what kind of a person are you.
Sure, ma'am. But when
Mhm.
it comes to being very resilient and being open, especially with all the depression talks going around, and most of us live away from our families, so we kind of need to co-depend on our colleagues. A lot of times, I have observed that because of the office gossips and the tendency to get into other people's life, people pull out a lot of previous personal information which somebody might have shared to somebody in confidence, and they are kind of, they are kind of putting it out in front of other people, which is so very wrong. And then you kind of end up thinking that should I share something with these people, because if tomorrow I have a fight with somebody for any professional reason also, then my secrets will also be lying bare in front of everybody and put me in a compromising position.
So that's why I asked you, right? Who and how will you trust somebody? You have to be very, very clear. Secondly, when you're talking about resilience and definitely living away from your family, you need to be connected to people. So suppose you don't feel very comfortable being completely reliant and connected with your professional colleagues. Are there some other people in your life who can fill in that space and give you that sense of relationship that you're looking for? So can you find that second avenue to fill that need that you have? Hello? Okay.
I think we
Mm.
can't hear her again. So I think I will take the last question.
Yeah.
So where is Firoja Gandhi? So Payoja, I think you can shoot your question.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. I would like to ask a question about depression. So, is it true that the symptoms of depression, like catatonia and bipolar disorder, can be temporarily cured through medication, but it cannot be the disease cannot be permanently cured? Is it true, ma'am?
So I'm sorry, I don't know. Yeah, Payoja, I would not be the right person because I am not a psychologist or psychiatrist. But from the general knowledge I have, I feel it can be definitely cured. Other than that, I wouldn't feel that it's the right place to comment on anything because I don't have any specialization in that field.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Yes, thank you.
I think Pooja was unmuted by mistake, so I'm just gonna unmute her again. Pooja, are you around? I can't really find her in the list now. I think she's not around, but so I think we've pretty much addressed a lot of questions in the session. So I think we should now wind up. Do you have any concluding remarks, Priyanka?
So I would just want to thank everybody for, kind of coming with me in this new structure of not, a very structured webinar as such, but more of really addressing the issues that you're really facing, and how can emotional intelligence and, the different perspectives that we have towards it help you navigate these trying times. So definitely want to thank everybody and all the participants and all the viewers. And I hope that, you all, when you were listening to our conversations, kind of took some insights into your own life as to, okay, so even if the situation is different, but the themes are very similar, whether we're talking about self-worth, whether we're talking about, workplace relationship issues, whatever we're talking about, I think all of us can resonate with them somewhere. So I think I just want to thank you. If there's a closing remark I want to give, I think it would be definitely focus on your mental well-being as an important aspect of your life. A lot of times, especially when we're trying to build our career in that pursuit of effectiveness, we kind of leave this behind, and then we start to get into all of these health issues and psychosomatic illnesses and all of that. So make sure that you're aware of yourself. So I'm not saying that I'm definitely the kind of person who would say go for it, work 16 hours a day or 17 hours a day if you're able to do that. But even in those hours, what is your frame of mind? How do you take any work? Are you overstressed? Do you feel like you're burning out, or are you taking it with that positive perspective? Are you able to stay mentally balanced? If you're able to stay mentally balanced, that's great. And if you're not, then do some things to kind of give you that avenue, to release some of the stress. And if you feel like you're really getting into a difficult state, don't, hesitate to ask for help. Because I think it's very, very important for us to accept the fact that, yeah, we may feel that we're going through a difficult phase of life and we are very, very stressed, and we would really appreciate if there's somebody who can listen to us and can be that sounding board for us and just help us kind of figure out some things for ourselves.
Priyanka, I think there's one more question, if we can just squeeze that in.
Yeah, we'll just have to do it really quick, but sure.
So there is Akshay. Now he says that, Akshay, I will just unmute you.
Hello?
Yes.
Ma'am, how can one realize if they are facing any issues, personal issues, maybe, or mental issues? They might be feeling stress and other kind of problems, but they're not able to realize that they are having a serious issue within themselves.
So as I said, there are 4 boxes to everybody's life, right? Effectiveness, relationships, well-being, and quality of life. So every few months, if you can just kind of draw these 4 boxes for yourself and kind of self-assess, where am I in terms of how do I feel about my effectiveness? How do I feel about my relationships? How do I feel about my well-being? So, physical and mental. And how do I feel overall about my quality of life? That is a really good indicator. Again, secondly, we have a lot of assessments that you can definitely go through if you want to even know more about it. So not only for people who feel they have a mental health issue, but if you want to understand yourself a bit more and see, where you can improve to improve your productivity overall, that's also possible. The third thing is just kind of see your thinking pattern and see your moods. If you're always in a low, then that's not very normal. So, it's kind of an alarming signal. If you're not able to sleep, again, an alarming signal for a prolonged period of time. If you never ever have energy, in the next morning. So I think these signs are enough for you to realize that maybe I need to talk about it to somebody.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Priyanka, for this wonderful session. I think you really allowed all of us to give a space where we can actually speak about our issues without any evasions. This is very, very important, I believe, that to have a space where we can actually discuss whatever we feel on a daily basis without being judged or without any inhibitions. So thanks a lot, Priyanka. For me, I think the biggest takeaways are, one, that you spoke about developing resilience, and second, changing your perspective every seconds, like, just allow yourself a moment. If you're feeling sad, maybe give yourself a moment and try and change that emotion. So that's a big takeaway for me, Priyanka. Thank you so much for your time.
Great.
Thank you everyone for joining in this session. The session is recorded and it will be uploaded on our YouTube channel. You may access it from there as well.
Great. And I think someone has just added to the chat if we need any more suggestions. So you can always reach out to me. You can connect with me through social media at my profile on Insta or Facebook, or Connect is the name of my brand. So Connect to EQ is the link to our page. And you can contact Vanita. She has my number.
Yes,
So
sure.
all the best. And I'm always available if you guys want to do any brainstorming sessions or, smaller groups where we actually do proper coaching sessions with a group to address a common issue that you're facing or, anything like that. So you can connect with me.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Good night. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.